Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Good morning, folks. Welcome to the spooky show today. That's according to Allison here. We're going to have a spooky show. That's what my screen shows on there. So I don't know really what that means. I'll tell you what spooky is. You're traveling with your family, and it's late at night, and the kids are in the back, and they're sort of, dozing, and thank God they're kind of dozed off, and there's no noise there, and you're driving, and all of a sudden you think you hear this noise in your car, and you say, well, maybe it's just the road, and then the road changes surfaces from asphalt to other, and you realize it's not. There's a tire problem or there's an engine problem, and you get this sinking feeling like, well, what do I do now? Because who will I call? Oh, that's right. You can call the Ghostbusters. Hey, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you. 888 Car Clinic is the number. Allison will take your call, put you in the queue, and I'll put you on the air. We will take your calls after we come back from this commercial break. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by Stant Corporation, the choice of OE, that's the car makers, manufacturers, and the leader in aftermarket caps and thermostats. You can find Stant products for your vehicle at Stant.com. Also, I'm proud to say this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by Delphi. Not just quality parts, Delphi quality. Connect with Delphi Auto Parts on Facebook for tech tips and auto advice. some really, really cool stuff there. How to replace a fuel pump, how to replace a gauge. There are just hundreds of great tips, and I'll give you those when I come back. Your vehicle's fuel pump pushes gasoline to the engine, an important step in keeping you on the road. If a pump fails, replace it with a brand you can trust. Delphi covers 9 out of 10 vehicles on the road and is backed by a lifetime guarantee. Delphi fuel pumps simplify your repair with smart, durable parts to get you back on the road fast. When it comes time for repair, remember with Delphi parts, it's not just quality, it's Delphi quality. Learn more at DelphiAutoparts.com. What can open and close hundreds of times a day on your vehicle? Your vehicle's thermostat, which performs 2 critical jobs: accelerates engine warm-up and regulates engine operating temperature. With so much at stake, like engine wear, fuel economy, emissions, and cold weather drivability, choose a thermostat professional installers choose. Stant. Stant's Superstat is premium grade and features a heavier gauge stainless steel housing and larger heat motor for optimal temperature control. For more Superstat advantages, visit Stant.com. This vehicle maintenance spotlight is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. The end of daylight savings time means an earlier start to nighttime driving. Now's the perfect time to check your vehicle's headlights. Just because your headlights still work doesn't mean you can't benefit from replacements. Like the lights in your home, headlights dim over time. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts to find quality replacement bulbs that will help you see farther down the road. It's a smart investment, especially with longer nights ahead. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices, every day.
O'Reilly.
When it comes to vehicle safety, having poor visibility is a risk not worth taking. Get set for this fall's weather by visiting your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store during the See Better, Drive Safer sale. You'll find deals on name brand headlights, wiper blades, and everything you need to see better and drive safer. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Like Shakespeare, we ask the question, what's in a name? Ours is pretty blah. We're Geico, not to be confused with Gecko, a small tree lizard. And no, Geico doesn't have a sister company named Girlco. So, in the absence of a perfect name, focus group tested for hipness, we offer car insurance at a fair price. In 15 minutes, you could save 15%. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Our name may not be cool, but saving money always is. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
I tend to put things off. For example, I put off getting a home equity line of credit for a while. Then one day, when I should have been doing my laundry, I went to LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form and got 4 offers back within hours. Then I chose the line of credit that was right for me. Who knows? I may even get around to using it someday.
When banks compete, you win at LendingTree.com. Equal housing opportunity. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And a special welcome to this program today. I just thought that I would bring to you, just off the top of my mind, a few tips. I mentioned tips. I mentioned, of course, Delphi to start with. Delphi quality, not just parts, but Delphi quality, and so I can help you to better understand that. Delphi understands the DNA of new cars. I mean, some 25 manufacturers of cars, they make parts for. So when you buy a Chevrolet, it's going to have a Delphi fuel pump in it. Well, chances are, if you buy another brand of automobile other than GM, because see, Delphi and GM were that connected for years and years and years. Delphi was a part of GM, and but that's no longer the case at all. So they're a fantastic parts manufacturer. And I compare Delphi, I guess, well, we have to all compare auto parts manufacturers to, I say all those of us in the automotive service industry, which would be yours truly, has to compare Delphi to Bosch. Because Bosch set the bar, and in fact, in the mid-'80s, 75%, see if I can remember the numbers, and I can, 75% of all fuel-injected parts for all cars in the world were manufactured and delivered by Bosch. And we being our service shop, Oh, I'm remiss here. Let me invite you to call, and Allison will take your call and put you in the queue. I don't have any particular order of items to share with you today, but I thought I'd share a little history of automotive parts because it just started out that way. And then we'll talk about maybe your automobile, and if you have questions about your car, I'll be glad to help you. And that's really what I'm here for, and to entertain, to have a good time. And today a spooky good time, being as Halloween. Today is Halloween, right? Tonight's Halloween. Is that right? That's right, Kevin?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Well, so tell us a Halloween joke. You don't have one, do you?
I have one about skeletons, but I don't know if you'll find it humorous.
Well, you hold on to it, then we'll come back. We'll come back to that. So as I was saying before, I misdirectedly asked Kevin for a joke. We won the East Coast region. We were the first Bosch authorized service center in the state of Florida, which is where our center of the automotive universe, where Car Clinic Service pre-repair is located, and where Car Clinic Network, which is our broadcast globalcast network. And I'll wave to the camera, all you folks out there watching at watchbobbylive.com. That's really way cool. I mean, it's way cool that we have an HD camera in-house right now. We're live video for anywhere in the world right now. What's even more cool than that is in 1998, we were video casting a program, and at that time it was really way out there. Now, we didn't do it in real time. We recorded the program and then made it available immediately following, but we also put scripts in there, which I always felt was a bit clandestine. I'll tell you why. You would watch Bobby Likis Car Clinic, then if I mentioned any sponsor, or if we went to a sponsor's break, then our script would take your computer to their website. And so you'd be at Car Clinic Network listening to a program, and all of a sudden your computer would make its way to, let's say, Mobile One, Oil, or whatever the sponsor was. Bars Leaks, that was one of our sponsors early on. And then you say, well, wow, that's really strange. And of course, it would not close out the window. It'd just be covering the window, one window on top of another. And then at the end of the commercial, it would bring you back to Car Clinic Network and back into the studio. So we do that today. We do that, but we don't take your computer anywhere. We just send to you via Google, YouTube, this program. And so it's really a very sophisticated and very sequential type program. And Kevin, you can attest to that as far as the sequentiality of having to load the Wirecast, which is a program that we use to illustrate and to video the program. And so we have the HD camera, which is literally, I'm waving at the camera right now, watchbobbylive.com. We have that video camera in the studio, and we could put a dozen cameras anywhere in the shop. In fact, I thought many years ago, well, why don't we just add a video experience for our customer's car so that when your car is in the shop, you can watch a technician working on it. Well, lo and behold, there was a company in Texas that came out with that very same idea, and it seemed like such a good idea that Ford paid that company over $1 million, as I understand now. I wasn't there, and I didn't see the check, so I question everything that I read and hear, unless it's a white paper from the source. It's always the source. But they did sell, because we were talking about that at the time, they did sell that technology, and well, it wasn't the technology, it was the application of the technology to Ford Motor Company. And for some reason, Ford shut it down. I guess they tried it a couple of dealerships, and they decided that it didn't work. Now, here's a real challenge. What goes on when you leave your car in the back of the shop? I mean, you can film and you can show various teardowns and various assemblies, but what about the time in the meantime? Well, there's cleanup, there's waiting on parts, there's waiting on authorization from the owner as to, well, can we complete this? It's not like you physically go to an OR and have a procedure done, and from the time that you are rolled into the OR room where they hook everything up to you, the wires and and whatever cords and those things that they do, that the doctors do, and their assistants. That's kind of like a one-stop place. Although I'm sure there are a lot of there's a dialogue going on from time to time within the operating room that brings a little has to ease the tension, so to speak. And quite candidly, I like a doctor who is very straightforward with me and very blunt, because I've had the other kind. And I have shoulder problems that are in part because of a lack of stern information that I got. And also I blame myself as well for hesitating to have an operation. And so was a rotator cuff type surgery, which is a very invasive surgery. If you've ever seen, don't even go there, but if you've ever wanted to see what goes on with a rotator cuff surgery, that's a very interesting procedure, I can tell you that. Likewise, if you'd like to see what goes on with, for instance, a timing belt procedure. So if you look at the front of an engine and you have the service desk shows you a description of what the front of an engine looks like, and you see the belt, you say, oh, well, just reach up and take this belt off and put the new belt on and let the tensioner go, because the tensioner is automatic in some cases, and then, crank it up. Well, that's not the way at all. I mean, you got to get to it. And in order to get to it, a front-wheel drive car means you have to support the engine and take the engine front mount off, because where that between the fender and the engine, there's a mount that holds the engine up. So in order to get in there, you can't. It's not magic. You can't put the belt through the hoop there. You have to literally remove that engine mount. And once you get the engine mount off, then you can get other belts off. Then you can get a cover off. And in order to get that cover off, there are wires you have to take. And the next thing you know, you've got a pretty good operation there. And you're looking at 2, 3, 4 hours. And in some Toyotas with a twin cam, I mean, it's really, then in addition to that, folks, by the time you get 105,000 miles, which is a Toyota deadline, I think, most Toyotas, a Lexus timing belt, by the time you get to that mileage, there are other parts of the car that have deteriorated. But they're still working. They're still working. But do you take them apart? Well, yeah, you have to move them out of the way to get to that timing belt. And in the case of many cars, and in fact, when we replace a timing belt, we always, or we just don't do the job, we always replace the timing belt with a timing belt kit. And the kit includes the pulleys. I mean, you think about it, the belt, you said the belt's wearing. Well, that's right. But the belt is wearing because it's going around these pulleys. So if you don't think the pulleys wear along with the belt, granted, the pulleys are made out of metal, the belt's made out of a rubber and other cords and those sorts of things. But I got to tell you, there's wear there. True, the belt area is covered. So it's not like you can look under the hood and look at the backside of that belt and say, oh, this belt has cracks or it's frayed or it's worn, because you have to take a panel off to get to it. Some panels are sort of removable. At least you can take a peek. You can take a couple of bolts out and ease the panel forward, being careful because they're plastic panels or polymer panels, and they've been hot and cold hundreds of times, thousands of times over the period of 100,000 miles. Well, so they'll break because you're bending the plastic that doesn't like to be bent. So having said that, it's a very interesting procedure when you get your car repaired. A lot that goes on behind that. I'm still not convinced that we shouldn't put a video camera there. When I come back, we're going to have Jim, and I'll see John from Sebring. Stay tuned. Let's go to the Car Clinic mailbag. Here's a question from Jimmy in Jasper. Bobby, I was talking to a friend of mine who works at an auto dealership, and he told me oiled air filters are not recommended for new cars. I've been listening for many years, and I know K&N is a big sponsor of your show. Aren't K&N air filters oiled cotton? I'm confused. Is it okay to use them or not? Jimmy, great question. K&N is known for its washable, reusable, oiled cotton air filters, which for over 45 years have extensive data that prove they are a perfect match for all vehicles, older models to the latest. You can find out more at knfilters.com. K&N also offers a line of intake kits that use a non-oiled, washable, reusable filter called Blackhawk if you prefer the convenience of not oiling the filter after cleaning. Also, check out other products available from AEMintakes.com, SpectrePerformance.com, and AirRaid.com. All companies in the K&N family. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Extreme, way out there sports are impressive, but the grueling testing of E15 by the U.S. Department of Energy is in a league all its own. E15, or 15% ethanol blended fuel, has undergone the most robust and rigorous fuel testing done to date. For example, in a Department of Energy study, a subset of 86 vehicles driven more than 6 million miles, that's the equivalent of 12 round trips to the moon, on test tracks and dynamometers were torn down and inspected. Result? No discernible difference in engine wear between test fuels in vehicles made in model years 2001 and later, as approved by the EPA. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanolrfa.org. That's ethanolrfa.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So let me know what you think with regard to a video in a service shop that would focus on your car while it was being worked on, so that you could tune in and go to using your phone, what else, or a computer, either or. From anywhere, and actually go to a dedicated website. In our case, it would be Car Clinic Service Pre-Repair, or just prerepair.com, or carclinicservice.com, and that would tune in to and show you a video of that vehicle in that stall. It may not be your vehicle at that time. It depends on who it was or what it was, but that would be something that we could work out. We could dedicate, okay, your vehicle is going to be like in Johnny Barge, who is our ASE lead technician here, in his stall, or stalls. He has 1, 2, 3, 4. He has like 5 stalls, so that he can maximize his time. He'll tear a car down and determine what it needs, and then we will bring in the owner of the car whenever we can entice, whenever we can force the owner to come down and be part of the repair. And I say that not tongue in cheek, because I can tell you, car owners want to bring their cars and leave it and let you figure out what's wrong with it and pay you, but they don't necessarily want to be part of the repair, and that's really not the way it should be. Just like with your body, when you go to a doctor, you bring the whole family and say, hey, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Well, I have a question. Well, that's a dumb question. Well, the doctor doesn't tell you it's a dumb question. They do look at you like, some of them, where did you come up with that? But that's okay. It's all part of the communication. So that's what the program here is all about. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is all about communication. Speaking of communication, let's go to Michigan and see what communications we can stir up with our Car Clinic reporter, Jim. Jim, welcome to today's broadcast. Glad to have you in the house.
Well, just call me Count Dracula for Halloween of the Westland.
Hey, you got to love it.
I want to say, before I got to speak to you, I talked to a pretty young lady. Certainly she's not a werewolf. Well, this boy's more charming than Elvira, what a gal.
Oh yeah. We went to a party last Saturday. Was a pre-Halloween party, you had to have a ticket to get in the door, and you had to be in costume to get in the door, and it was fun. But okay, let's talk automotive and let's talk industry. What do you bring to the table today, Sir Jim?
Okay, King Bob, I'll tell you what. I look up to you. You're the man in charge of the plant. Anyway, we're going to talk about the Lansing Spirits High Monday when General Motors brought back the Camaro. I know you were excited that maybe one way it could be favorable. Your classic could have been more a classic, but these guys are going to be working stronger, and the sixth generation of Camaros will now be built for the first time in the state of Michigan.
Hey, now, Jim, from where was that vehicle assembled prior to today, or the upcoming change?
Well, I thought it was in Mexico, the way I remember it.
I think it was Canada.
Canada, you're right. Ontario, Canada. I stand corrected by the chief Indian of the TP himself.
You know what's really cool about that is that, of course, I'm sure the recent UAW talks and the ratification and all that had something to do with that. But isn't it really great, and especially for the Detroit area? I think it's fantastic that, where else would you make a GM car? Now, I know we could get into all of the other manufacturers, like Ford has the vehicles made in Mexico, and I'm sure GM may or may not do, I'm not sure of there, but they could. But they had cars made in Canada. But I think it's really cool that they're moving a Camaro. The muscle car Camaro is back again. And I got to tell you, historically, not that it matters what I think as far as what my personal preferences are, I was not a Camaro man because so many Camaros would come into my shop that were 2 or 3 years old, and the armrest and the console, the plastic parts of the interior of that car were falling to pieces. And it was like universally. But it seems now that the materials, it is a fact that materials are better. And now that they're going to be actually assembled in Michigan, the folks in Michigan who may or may not have had a job can see that they're going to have a job that they wouldn't have before. So hats off to GM. That's a great decision.
Yeah, it is a great decision because the Camaro has been around since September the 29th of 1966 and putting back workers on full-time scale. They claim the cars are going to be ready to sell by mid-November.
Wow.
Which isn't far away when we get about 2 weeks to go after Halloween.
Okay. What else do we have?
Okay, Bobby, let's talk about tires. When you get the tires on your car, they're usually not made by the manufacturer of the car. But the sad part about it is that car tire accidents occur every year, and they're part of the cause of the accident that kill 500 people.
Wow.
And the main point I want to make on this one, I've seen this story repeated a number of times, just like you want to bring people to see their car looked at when it's being worked on. I think that's a great idea. Keep them out of the area, though, so it's safer for them if something goes wrong, but that's my opinion. But let's stick with the tire. The tire industry has not let people, even when you pick your car tires for new ones for winter, you need a new set, they don't show you how to read the tire to prove to you the tire's not 6 years old.
Oh.
And according to what I've read, any car 6 years older than that is dangerous to put on your car. And some of the car dealers are not asking you to read the number and putting a 10-year-old tire on your car.
Well, you should never buy it, and you're right with the numbers. The tire warranty is 6 years, and ironically, when you buy a new set of tires, and I ordered a new set for my Viper, and I was pleased that the born-on date was, if I remember, I bought these in 14. No, yeah. Let's see, I bought them in 15, and the born-on date, as I remember, was 52/13. or 14, 5213. That's the alphanumeric numbers, but that 52 means the 52nd week. And then, of course, 14 meant, 2014. But here's the bottom line. For anyone that's buying a set of tires, whether they buy them from Michelin or they buy them from Goodyear or it doesn't matter, Dunlop. I mean, it's not a name sensitive, because all those manufacturers now are having to put the born on date on the tire, and a tire that's 10 years old that's been in the rack. Let's just say that you go to a local tire place and you get a deal of a lifetime. I mean, the deal of a lifetime means that, or could mean, I don't say that it means, could mean that tire's been in inventory so long, maybe it's an odd size, and maybe it will fit your car. You can go up one size, as they say. That's the limit, as I understand. And so you could go up one size. So maybe that tire seller says, well, I'll give you a special deal on these particular tires. And lo and behold, those tires could be 5, 6, 7 years old already. And they're new, but they've been born, they were manufactured and created 6 or 7 years ago. The industry has agreed, the tire industry, which means the major players, and that's the Bridgestones and the Firestones and the Generals and the Michelins, that 10 years is the limit, although their warranty is 6 years. And the funny thing about that, when you look at automobile warranties, Jim, the warranties are, some are 3 years and some are 5 years on certain parts. Now, emissions controls, they're 80,000 miles or 8 years, and now Hyundai has their 10-100, which is 10 years or 100,000 miles. So there are differences for different manufacturers, but let's face it, age really does play a part, and even if that tire hasn't been exposed to the UV rays or to road bumps and dips and holes and ruts and all those sorts of things, definitely. So it's my understanding that the National Transportation Safety Board is wanting to have every tire sold, not just new cars, but every tire sold in your local neighborhood registered. Isn't that what this is all about?
That is what it's all about. If it's registered, everybody's going to take into effect more your safety, and you'll be safer.
So if there's a recall, let's apply this to our listeners. If there's a recall on a tire and you don't know it because it's never registered, but it fits,
a dealer's going to know it. That's the main thing, I believe.
Well, so who's going to be responsible for notifying? I mean, you look at, there are 4 tires minimum for every car.
You could have 4 different kind of tires on a car, technically.
Well, I don't know. You could definitely have 2 and 2. You're supposed to keep the same brands, but you could have 2 tires from one. You could have a set of tires for the car's new. You could buy a new set of rear tires if it's rear-wheel drive, and they're different size, as my tires are. You could have buy a set of rear tires, and then you'd have, which could be a different brand. Could be, or at least what I have found is that the replacement tire usually is not the same tire as comes from the factory, because they upgrade them as they go along or they change them. Okay, let's shift gears. What's the final topic that you bring?
This is a real tough one that you gave me this week, and I'm going to report on it. And I think I do understand it a little bit, which might be a surprise to you. We're talking about a biodiesel car, and this to me is a fantastic article. From Scania, part of Volkswagen builds a modified heavy-duty diesel engine designed to run on almost pure ethanol E95.
Oh, yeah.
Or 95% ethanol with a 5% ignition improvement. If that sounds weird, that's because it is. U.S. auto manufacturers have a big deal out of converting cars and trucks to run on ethanol. Gasoline blends up to 85% ethanol. Scania has done better than that with a 15 years, and guess what? Their engines can run a 100% biodiesel fuel too, without any modification.
So you're telling me that a diesel engine, and where is this, in Scandinavia?
That's what it looks like, right? According to the one I'm reading from you.
You're telling me, or we're sharing with the office, with the audience, that the diesel engines are running on 100% ethanol in Scandinavia and have been for 15 years.
Yes, we are correct.
Yeah, that's some bad stuff. Well,
I know you'd applaud that one, Bobby. I know this is definitely your cup of tea.
Well, it is, and I'll tell you why. Because I stood in line waiting for gasoline in the mid-'70s, and I swore I was not going to do that. And the only way I figured to do that is reduce our dependency on foreign oil, and ethanol is the key to that. Okay, that's all the time we have. Don't touch your dial. We'll be back. In the service bay this week is a 2012 Ford Mustang. The vehicle is idling rough, hesitating at stops, and the fuel trim is out of spec. Oil is dark and overdue. The car's not been maintained properly and is, to no surprise, not running well. Our diagnosis? We believe it's the fuel system, not just dirty, beyond dirty. Carbon has built up on the back of the intake valves and needs to be removed. The solution? New Fuel Pro Complete from Motor Medic. Fuel Pro Complete is a professional fuel system cleaning kit that's easy for DIYers to use. It's a simple two-step system and takes just 5 minutes. Most fuel system cleaners only clean through the gas tank. Fuel Pro Complete also cleans through the vacuum line, bypassing intake sensors to avoid any potential damage. The result? No more rough idles or acceleration hesitation with improved power and performance. Visit FuelProComplete.com for more information, including a demo video and port locator with a list of vehicle makes and models.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but morning's knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Good night, Prevotella. Good night, Actinomyces. Good night, Streptococcus.
Germs, millions of them. They've been building up in your mouth all day, and some of them can even lead to the gum disease gingivitis. Say goodnight with Listerine. Just 30 seconds of Listerine before bed kills germs, even germs that can cause gingivitis. Use Listerine every night and go to sleep with a healthier mouth. See your dentist. Use as directed when brushing and flossing aren't enough.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Gluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Just a clarification with Jim, our car clinic reporter. Scandinavia has for 15 years been running diesel engines on 100% ethanol. There are modifications performed to those engines for sure, but those engines can also run on biodiesel. So the moral of the story is that you have diesel fuel, you have gasoline, you have ethanol blended gasoline, and you have higher levels of ethanol. Folks, it's all fuel. Some of it burns more cleanly and has different properties. And so we can look at those opportunities to, number one, reduce our dependency on foreign oil, which I believe through the success of the ethanol program, and 97+% of all gasoline in the United States now has 10% ethanol in it. So, and the gas prices are, and I just happen to have for you at this time the national average of gas price, which I am absolutely sure has a lot to do with the lack of demand for crude, even though we have more cars on the road than ever before, and we're driving trillions of miles, 5 billion miles a day, whether or not you knew that, a day in the U.S. The average of the gas prices are $2.22, and that's the national average. And I said this last week, but it has to do with last year same time and last week same time. The gas prices are down from this time last year in every region reported in the country. And there's 10 regions that I have here, which are the East Coast, New England, Central Atlantic, Lower Atlantic, Midwest, Gulf Coast, Rocky Mountain, West Coast, less California. Not only are gas prices down in every region from same time last year, they are down from same time last week. So that's a very interesting stat that I try to bring to you. So I guess the moral of the story is on this Halloween day is go fill up your gas tank because it'll never get any cheaper. Well, I don't know. It was cheaper than it was last week, but I doubt that it's going to stay in the twos or 250s and as it is the 222 range. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. You get ready for this fall's weather by visiting your O'Reilly Auto Parts store during the See Better, Drive Safer sale. You'll find deals on name brand headlights, wiper blades, and everything you need to help you see better and drive safer. O'Reilly Auto Parts has just what you need to improve visibility at great prices. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. We'll take a call from John now, and I see that John has a little Halloween humor. John, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Absolutely, Bobby, and I'm the creator of the following humor. You're going to appreciate it.
Okay, all right, I can't wait.
There are people who work at the cemeteries, mow the lawn, and so forth, do the landscaping work, and so forth. What do you call those people?
I don't know. What do you call those people who work landscaping at cemeteries?
Skeleton crew.
Oh, well, you make a good point there. I'll tell you what would really be. I'll tell you what would really be cool would be to have like on a. Now this would really be strange, to have on a Halloween. Of course, you have to get permission from the cemetery, but actually have like a group of people walking out of the cemetery. There you got my mind now going in a weird direction. Well, so John, Kevin has another joke. So Kevin, join in and tell us your Halloween. Give us your Halloween.
Sure. Let's see. What's a skeleton's favorite instrument?
I don't know. What is a skeleton's favorite instrument?
A trombone.
I knew it had to be bone. I knew it had to be something bone. Trombone. Well, that's not as corny as you said it was.
Well, that other one was also a joke.
Well, I understand. Well, John.
Good, Kevin. Good.
Yeah, it's good. Well,
Bobby, as you know, over the years, I've tried to get a change in the way we run our machines, where we would have on board a generator generating electricity, running electric motors driving the drive wheels,
right,
which I call like a locomotive, which is how the big giant locomotives operate.
Right.
And it's totally ignored my suggestion around the world. But if it could ever be accomplished, the world would get the mileage that we need, all that we need, and we would consume about 80% less diesel and or gasoline, whichever way you run your generators. But it's just totally ignored, and I just don't know.
Well, I don't think I think that you may be underselling the actions or yourself here, and let me tell you why. I just recently had a call from one of our Car Clinic listeners who was looking at a new SUV to buy, and I recommended the Cayenne. And you remember that, Kevin? I had a caller a couple of weeks ago, I think. What was her name?
Her name was Angie, I believe.
Angie. She called and she said, well, what do you think about the Lexus and what have you? And I have to tell you, because one of my customers recently brought a Cayenne by, and it was an SEV. So it was a supercharged V6 engine with 333, I think it was supercharged. I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, it was 335 horsepower V6 engine and a 95 horsepower electric motor. And this vehicle, the gas mileage was way up over the top. The power was way up over the top. So it is a combination of the technologies that we talk about. And so if you think about, here's the issue. You can't make a car that people won't buy. Because if you make the car and then people don't buy it, then all your stockholders says, "Well, hey, who's running this country here? This company. You really are wasting the R&D and the resources of this company by building and making cars." And as I speak, OEMs are making electric and offering EVs. In fact, in the last month, not last week actually, but in the last month, almost every one of those manufacturers are going after the Tesla. I mean, Porsche has publicly said we're going after Tesla. And rather than to diss Tesla and say, oh, that'll never happen, which is what, I hear a little bit of a frustration in your voice because you're talking about like a locomotive, and you're right, like a locomotive. That's a good example. Of all the times that you and I have spoken on the air, you've never really said like a locomotive, and so for years, I'm sure that many people thought you were talking about a locomotive, but you're talking about making a car like a locomotive, whereas you have the like an ethanol powered or a renewable fuels powered engine that generates power. But that's what the Volt does. That's what the Cadillac ELA does. And now we have the choices to buy a Tesla or to buy an all-electric Porsche, which is coming out soon. And these are going to be expensive cars. They're in the luxury bracket. But I will tell you, when you create a demand, and you mark my words, when you create a demand for the nice, luxury, expensive cars, and then you have people looking at them and say, oh, I wish I had the money to buy one of those. People who don't have that kind of income, I wish I had the money to buy one of those. And then the manufacturer comes out and makes one that is affordable. You will see people buy those because what they're doing, it's a slow evolution to generate interest. And for years and years, the NASCAR has, which is all about supposedly racing cars that you see on the street. I mean, it's not about that really, but that's how it was positioned. Stock cars, right? Nothing stock about a NASCAR stock car, but that's where the premise was. And so now you see people that in Ford Motor Company and Chrysler and GM race cars on Sunday, sell cars on Monday. Because people go to they look at the Monte Carlo or the Impala or whatever line that is, the Ford Taurus, and they see it in race form, and then they go to the showroom floor on Monday and they get a similar vehicle, and then to top it off, the manufacturer, Ford, GM, Chrysler, or Toyota that has the off-road vehicle. On the side of the vehicle, all the manufacturers have sold cars based on successful race ventures, and so I say we take that same. Well, it's not a stretch to take that same mode of operation and method of creating sales and creating interest on the electrical side, and apply it to those of us who cannot afford to go out and spend $100,000 on a car. And to that end, that's where Tesla is really got the attention of the manufacturers, because General Motors behind closed doors 2 years ago said we have to do something about Tesla. This is a known fact. They didn't say, oh, that'll never work, or Elon Musk is crazy, or he'll pass. That's not the case at all. They said, we've got to do something, and they are doing something. They've got the Chevrolet Volt, and now they're going to have the Bolt, B-O, B as in Bobby, Bolt. And those cars, 50 miles per gallon. So you're going to see an evolution, and we are seeing the evolution. You don't make cars like they used to. They make them a heck of a lot better. Anyway,
thanks, Bobby. Who was that the manufacturer you first mentioned? Cayenne or something like that?
Porsche.
What car is that?
It's a Cayenne. Just Google Porsche Cayenne, Cayenne, and it's an S and it's an EV. So it has an internal combustion engine that runs on ethanol and ethanol blended fuel. So you have you can get fuel anywhere, and it has an electric motor that's an assist. So when you've got an electric motor that assists, you can drive down the road. And I don't know if you've ever looked at the instant MPG readout, but if you've got a car that's getting 27 miles per gallon, all you have to do is touch the accelerator and watch it go down to 5. Or come to a hill and watch it go down to 16 and 14 and 15. Well, if you have an electric motor that is charged, because it's charged as you go, during the uphill mode, there's no loss in MPG, because whatever it takes to get up that hill, that electric motor is providing. GM did this on their e-assist on the Buick 4 years ago. And yet people don't really understand that. They say, well, I don't want an electric car. I don't have to plug it in or what have you. It's all about education and educating. And the biggest challenge, in fact, we were going to do a show on this, and we're actually going to do one locally on television. How to use the special items on your car. How to use the options on your car. I can tell you this. It took me 2 months to go through the owner's manual, a page by page. And then when I would find some topic in my car that I didn't know about, I would go out in the garage and do it. And I'd stop right there. Rather than go back, I would stop right there, and I would go out and I would experiment. If my wife needed me, you know where she found me? In the garage. And learning. And so now I use every technical asset in my new car, with the exception of the part I don't like, which is the funky screen that is delayed, and that's something that Jaguar has to do a better job. And they should go to Kia, and they should get the electronics from Kia, because Kia does a heck of a job. I got another call.
Thank you, Bobby.
Okay, thank you, John. Happy Halloween. Let's go to Coleman. Richard, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hello.
Hello, sir. You're on the air. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yeah, good morning, Bobby.
Good morning, sir.
I got a problem here. My son in his Silverado, 2012.
Right.
He lost the oil filter, blew out the gasket, going down the highway at 70 miles an hour down Route 27.
Okay.
But anyhow, it blew out, and now the motor's blocked. And I'm wondering if you could say anything that would maybe loosen that up, to go in there and loosen it up.
No. If he ran that engine, number one, that's what check engine lights and low oil pressure lights are for.
Well, the light came on. As soon as the light come on, he got it right into one of those turnoffs. But the oil pressure on the readout went to 3 pounds.
Well, if the engine, you're telling me the engine is seized.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's time for another engine.
Yeah.
In fact, it may well be a technician. If he drove, let me just share this with you. You can drain all of the oil out of an engine and drive it 5 miles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, he didn't do that.
Sure, he did. He drove more than 5 miles.
He said about a mile.
I don't care what he said. I don't really care what he said. I've been in the business 44 years, and I can tell you.
I know. That's
you can
why
drain. You can drain. What he's telling you is half the facts, because you cannot. You have to be hard pressed to damage an engine. Now, I'm not saying that you could go drain it. You should do this. But the first thing that will happen when an engine loses oil pressure, the very first thing, long before any bottom end damage occurs, the lifters will collapse, because they're hydraulic lifters. And when they collapse, the engine will go clack, 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 and it will be really, really ultimately noisy. So That's really what's happened here. He's driven it too far, and I don't want to drive too far because I'm out of time. Another hour coming up on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Stay tuned.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
History is full of automotive breakthroughs like in-vehicle air conditioning in 1939 and airbags in the 70s. Now Shell is proud to introduce another automotive breakthrough, Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline, featuring an innovative additive package with patented technology. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline protects against all three main types of engine performance threats: gunk, corrosion, and wear. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline provides the best total engine protection you can buy. It actively cleans intake valves and fuel injectors and shields critical engine parts against future buildup. The result is a cleaner, more efficient engine that will operate at optimum performance. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline, proven in industry-standard tests and recommended by BMW M Series. Don't give your engine just any premium gasoline. Choose a breakthrough. Choose Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Learn more at shell.com/US.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Bob, what's new? Last month I'm in Africa. When this wildebeest charges me, we butt heads and he's history. After I pull my guide from the jaws of an alligator, I dig into some beef jerky. I get heartburn. I take out my Rolaids as I'm fighting off a wild boar. In under 10 seconds it starts working. Then the boar is bye-bye. My heartburn's gone.
Rolade starts working in under 10 seconds? You expect me to believe that?
It's true. Rolade starts neutralizing acid in under 10 seconds. ROLAIDS spells relief. Use as directed.
While Johnny Kim was getting ready for the first customers of the day, someone else was looking at Larger's face for his growing business. At 3 o'clock, while the Curtis family was watching their daughter's soccer game, someone else was walking a prospective tenant through one of their apartment buildings. And while Carmen Delabar was preparing for a fashion show, someone else met with an appraiser about her investment property. You've got a life. We let you live it. We're realtors. Real estate is our life.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Happy Halloween. Yeah, that's what today is. And so tonight, don't let the goblins get you. Or else maybe you can be a goblin and get everybody else. Go to a graveyard and what was it, Kevin? Be the skeleton. What was that corny joke that you told?
Skeleton Crew. That was actually
Skeleton
John.
Crew. That was John that told that. And then yours was just about as corny with a. What was your question?
Oh, it was candy corny today.
Candy corny. Oh, that how? Yeah. Never mind. Okay, turn your mic down. Get back to the board, folks. 888 Car Clinic is the number for you to call, and if you have a little funny story, that'd be also funny for people to like to hear, and it's a little enjoyment, little laughter in life is great. It's good. It's good for whatever ails you. I don't know if it'll fix your cars or not, but that's my job. I won't fix your car, but I'll share information with you. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by General Tire and the new Grabber HTS 60, featuring General Tire's newest wear improvement technology that improves tread life up to 25% over the original Grabber HTS. You can learn more at GeneralTire.com. Going to be a great show. 888 Car Clinic. Give us a call. We'll take your call, put you in the queue, and then I will put you on the air. A little bit about Shell V-Power Nitro Premium Plus Gasoline when I come back. Don't touch that dial. Like us, you'll love us.
They're out there. Gunk, corrosion, and wear, relentlessly preying on engines. But new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline provides unbeatable protection from gunk and corrosion, and superior protection against wear, for the best total engine protection you can get. Stay ahead of engine threats with new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline today.
From the Car Clinic inbox, James writes, I recently noticed the front tires on my Subaru are worn, but rear tires seem okay. Can I change just two? James, today's vehicles run on the sum of their parts to make themselves whole. Traction control, analog brakes, crash avoidance systems all require key information from your vehicle's tires. If you're driving an all-wheel drive vehicle, then tires are especially critical in ensuring the all-wheel drive system does its job and keeps you safe. Changing just two tires instead of four can compromise all-wheel drive operation and, in some vehicles, even cause wear and damage to the all-wheel drive components. When replacing tires, always check tread depth and condition. Rotate your tires at required intervals and check owner's manuals for specifics. Drive to GeneralTire.com to learn about the new Grabber HTS 60, featuring General Tire's newest wear improvement technology that improves tread life up to 25% over the original Grabber HTS. That's GeneralTire.com. Not all brake hardware is the same. Carlson controls the design, engineering, and manufacturing for all their brake hardware for proper fit and performance. Carlson's state-of-the-art tools, equipment, and processes enable them to create quality parts with consistent curves, bends, and angles that meet even the tightest tolerances and specifications. Why risk your brake job with inferior brake hardware that may not fit or perform properly? Eliminate the risk by asking for Carlson quality brake hardware kits for every brake job.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
This is Willie Works.
Hi.
Back to answer all your laundry questions, like how to get out those tough embedded odors.
Like when your husband comes back from the plant. Woo! Smelling like he brought the whole place home.
Or when one of the cows escapes and you have to wrestle it to the ground.
Uh-huh.
What? I think that's a good one.
They're all good ones, and I have the solution. Febreze for the wash.
Ooh.
Just add a capful with your detergent and odors disappear.
Wow! 1 capful is all it takes?
Yep, Febreze for the wash. 1 cap, 1 wash.
And say goodbye to odors.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Stay ahead of engine threats like gunk and corrosion and wear with new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline, the best total engine protection you can get. Choose it for your next fill-up and all ensuing. Bobby Likis Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. That's the number. Write it down, or just you can do the math yourself. You can transpose the Car Clinic. It takes a little more time. 888 Car Clinic, but 888-227-2546 is the number for you to remember. Allison will put you in the queue, take your call, and I will put you on the air. Let's go to New York and talk with Bob. And then I want to share with you some new technology that, from a technical standpoint, from a technician standpoint, was a real surprise to me. I learned about this about 18 months ago at SEMA, which, by the way, SEMA is coming up next week. But I didn't know when it would hit the market, but it appears that it is and will be incorporated into newer cars. And it's an electronically assisted thermostat for your engine's a broader-based operating temperature. But first, let's go to New York. Bob, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Oh, yes. Hi, Bobby.
Hi, sir.
Thank you very much for taking my call.
You're welcome.
What I'm calling about is my son, who's in college. He bought a 1998 Honda Accord for a low price. And it had engine blow up, I guess from not changing the timing belt, and another engine put in 2006. So, and I guess that's the only service. So I had, following your instructions, what I've heard you tell other people, is replace the whole timing belt kit. Very complicated on that car.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I had told him to change his transmission fluid or from the automatic, or do as I do on all my other cars, which are Japanese and have a drain plug on the transmission, is about 4 times a year when I change the oil, I also drain, approximately 3 quarts, some cars 4 quarts that will come out of the transmission, and then I, top that off along with changing the oil. And I do that about 4 times a year, and that way my transmission oil always looks good, and, it's not a complete change, but there's, always adding a fair portion of new oil. His has had nothing, the oil start, and so I said he should probably change it. If you won't do that, at least start flushing it like that. He went to get some transmission fluid, and the fellow at the parts thing said that's the worst thing in the world he could do. That with that kind of mileage, he will then cause all the seals to leak, and sold him a quart of Likis transmission stuff.
Right. Well, that's an uneducated individual that is sharing that with him, and so let me say that if you look at stats, at numbers, you can literally make numbers say anything that you'd like. And I say anything. You could really stretch the truth, the facts. And so if you and let me give you an example. And this is real world, and there are white papers. The EPA tested ethanol blended fuels and said that from the years 2001 to date, going forward, all cars and small trucks could run E15, that's 15% ethanol and 85% gasoline, with no ill effects and no problems and no damages. So that is correct. So my question when I heard this, well, why didn't they include 2000? What was the difference between 2000 and 2001? Because it said 2001 and forward. And Mike, in reality, there was no and there is no difference between a 2000 Buick V6 3.8 liter and a 2001 Buick V6 3.8 liter. So why did they use 2001? And here was the real decision-making process. At one point, they had to go and had to cut it off because if you included, in all reality, rather than 2001, if they went back to 1996, which they well could have, because the technology between 96 and 01 is basically the same engine, same parts. And I have proof of this. I mean, like GM part numbers for 96 are the same part number for 2005 on a fuel pump. So I'm saying to you, and the moral of the story is, the EPA decided to stop at 2001 for fear that if they went back too far, just the basic pure numbers of age-old cars would have some breakdowns anyway, which sooner or later happen. So they had to put some cutoff to bring it to reality. Now, that's a very sophisticated, well, it's not very sophisticated to me, but it could be confusing to those of you and those who really don't get into why they chose 01 and forward, which I just explained. Unfortunately, our industry has been held responsible for and blamed for transmission leaks that the owner didn't know were there, and in some cases may not have been there prior to changing fluids. And I'll give you an example. You could take a C6 Ford, which is an older mid-70s transmission. It came out in 1976. And you could put 15 years on a C6 transmission or 10 years on a C6 transmission that maybe wasn't dripping, and maybe had a front seal that was going to leak, because sooner or later all those transmissions leaked. And you could service the transmission. And in servicing the transmission, you could remove some deposits and maybe some sludge, albeit minor stuff, and then put new fluid. And a new fluid would have a thinner viscosity because it's not oxidized and thickened as any oil does with age and with heat continuously. So those of us in automotive service, many of us, yours truly not included, our industry says, well, whenever a car comes in with 100,000 plus miles on it and the owner asks for a transmission service, number one, it means two things. There's a problem in the transmission that the owner thinks a fluid flush or exchange will correct. So if we change the fluid, and which won't affect anything except make the transmission work better, and a week later the customer comes back and says, hey, wait, my car now doesn't shift the same as it did before, because maybe it had some pistons inside the valve body that were scored or had some trash or were sticking otherwise, and this new fluid with new conditioners would go in and change the behavior of the transmission. Regardless, the owner would say, well, it wasn't doing that before you serviced the transmission. So what's the easy way out for a shop owner? And what's a much easier way out for a parts counterman? And I love those guys because we depend on them. But they're not in the fray. They're not in the triage like we are every day. So what's the easy way out? Oh, you better not touch it. That car's got too many miles on it. I disagree with that. And I say you can do one of two things. You can wait till it breaks and then bite the bullet, the huge bullet, or you can protect it along the way and perform services. But if you wait until 150,000 miles, there's certainly a different attitude or different procedures that you might take. And I will share that with you and the rest of the Car Clinic audience. Well, in fact, I'll share it now because I've got more time than I thought. When we have a transmission that comes in, like say your son Mike, your son's vehicle, his Honda, what we will do is not change the filter first, because if you change the filter and then you change the fluid and use the fluid exchange machine, you put new fluid in that old filter and old fluid in that new filter. So what do? You change the fluid first. And now you've got all new fluid, 98% of the fluid is new, and then afterward you drop the pan and pull the filter out and put a new filter in. Now this is in extremely bad, thickened, darkened, oxidized cases. And then you put a new filter in, and so you lost 4 or 5 quarts. So what? It's the way to catch up with a car that has 150,000, 200,000 miles, and you tell the owner face to face what may or may not happen. That's it. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Ethanol by the numbers. 113. Ethanol's octane rating, 90,200. Jobs ethanol created in 2011, 45%. Lower oil import dependency level due to ethanol. 25.3 million tons of greenhouse gas emissions reduced by ethanol's use. $1.09 per gallon reduction in wholesale gasoline prices enabled by ethanol in 2011. 42.4 billion ethanol's contribution to the gross national product. 6 million miles traveled in testing E15. 2001 model year and newer light-duty vehicles approved for E15 use. 1.7 to 2.3 units of energy ethanol yielded for every unit used to produce it. 20. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association.
From the Car Clinic inbox, Jason in Dallas writes, Bobby, the battery in my 2012 Honda just died. I hear you talking about Power Frame. Is this a battery you recommend? And where can I get it? Jason, Power Frame isn't actually a battery brand. Power Frame is the type of grid technology inside select automotive batteries. Why are grids so important? The positive grid provides the energy necessary to start your car, and corrosion of this grid is the #1 cause of battery failure. Power Frame grids are different because the patented grid pattern is optimized for consistent and superior starting power. The manufacturing method and material composition used to produce Power Frame grids result in increased durability and corrosion resistance. In fact, they're 66% more durable than other grid designs like book mold or expanded metal. You can find Power Frame grid technology inside Autocraft Gold and Platinum AGM and CarQuest Silver, Gold, and AGM batteries at your local Advanced Auto Parts and CarQuest stores. For more about Power Frame grid technology, drive to powerframe.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Bob, what's new? So I'm playing stickball. I hit a long one right into this limo. Guy gets out, says he's a scout. Drives me to the stadium. I'm in the dugout, splitting a chili dog with the coach. I get heartburn. I whip out my Rolaids, and in under 10 seconds, it starts working. Then I'm batting cleanup, and my heartburn's gone.
Rolade starts working in under 10 seconds? You expect me to believe that?
It's true. Rolade starts neutralizing acid in under 10 seconds. ROLAIDS spells relief. Use as directed.
Some original thinking by Starbucks barista Frank Botex.
What I love most is getting customers to smile in the morning. Starbucks is just a place to come and relax, kick your feet back. I mean, it's a second home. Starbucks is now in a grocery store, and what better way to just become your own personal barista at home? You go to the grocery store, pick up some coffee, take it home, let the aroma take over your body.
Your favorite Starbucks coffee. At grocery, at home, at last.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by Carlson Quality Brake Hardware Kits. Folks, replace your brake hardware with Carlson Quality Brake Hardware. Every job, every brake job for certified fit and performance. Insist on Carlson Quality Brake Hardware Kits, available at your local Federated Auto Parts store. And as an FYI, at Car Clinic Service Pre-Repair, every brake job that we perform, we replace the brake hardware along with the job. It's not about brake pads and rotors. It's how to do the best job. And you're speaking $10, $15, $18, somewhere in that vicinity for the hardware. What is hardware? It's all those little clips and springs and anti-noise makers and exactly what its name implies. Hardware. It's the things you don't see, but it makes a whale of a job and a difference of a brake job because it allows the rotor and the pads to move back away from the rotor after you let off the brake pedal, because it has to be free, because pads ride directly on the rotor full time. So if you step on the brakes and drive, you'll wear the brakes out, right? Well, what if you step on the brakes and you let off the brake and the brakes still are applied? Why? Because the hardware is gritty, rusty, old. That's typical for all cars. They work in an environment that's awful dirty and rusty and salty and all those things. So the next time you get a brake job performed, here's a trick question for you. Ask well, are you going to include the brake hardware when you put new pads on my car? And are you going to machine the rotors when you put new pads on my car? And if you get anything other than an affirmative, then you're talking more about what it cost than about the quality and longevity of the job, and you can take that to the bank. That's a fact. Let's go to Mike. Mike, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Hey there.
Hey, sir.
Okay. I got a haunted car story for you.
Okay, yeah, great. What better day, what better show than a haunted car story?
Well, I heard you say if you had a car question or a story. Well, I got a story for you.
Okay.
In 1979, my Opel Kadett decided to give up the ghost and died on us, and we were looking for another car. Well, a friend of ours had a 1967 Buick LeSabre, four-door, that used to be his wife's.
Okay.
The car only had 65,000 original miles on it. She was the original owner. We bought the car for $200 cash.
Wow.
Shortly after we got it, now the husband had said something that was kind of strange, that his wife didn't let nobody drive that car. And he said he wouldn't be surprised if her ghost was still in it. And that kind of gave us a red light right there. Shortly after we got the car, we started experiencing really interesting things. The radio would come on all by itself. It would change stations. Wiper blades would come on. The car would just veer off the road with no reason. We brought it to the shop, had it checked. There was no electrical problems. The courtesy light on the passenger side used to come on all by itself, and the rest of them would be off, although all of them worked. My wife drove the car for the first time going to work one night. She left the driveway. About 5 minutes later, she comes flying in the driveway. She says, "There is no way I'm ever driving this car again." She says, "I don't know what's wrong with it." She says, "But everything went nuts." She says, "The dash lights were flashing off and on. The radio was coming off and on. The wiper blades were going crazy. The dome lights were going off and on." Well, we kept the car for about a year, and we've had it checked several times for electrical problems. There was nothing wrong with it. So the only thing that we could figure is the ghost of that car did not want us driving it. And we sold it about a year later for exactly what I paid for it. And I told the people, you are going to experience some strange things with this beautiful car. I just wanted to share that with you.
Well, and that's the kind of case, Mike, thank you for sharing that. That's the kind of case that it reminds me of a lady that came into our shop years ago, and she said, my car's making a noise. And of course, and we were going to do a show on noises at one time, and I just never did. But I said, well, what kind of noise does it make? And she said, well, I said, and what speed? And she said, well, at slow speed. Oh, she said, yes. I said, high speed. Oh, yes. And then, but what she didn't say was at no speed, because her car made noise when it wasn't moving. Of course, if it was not moving, then it had to be obviously, something from the engine, right? So, but now we're like 5 or 6 minutes into the conversation, and I said, well, does it increase with RPM? She said, what's that? What do you mean RPM? I said, well, if you race the engine up. Oh no, she said it makes noise with the engine off. I said, wait a minute now, your car has this noise in it with it's not moving, the engine's not running. I said, she said, it will make the same noise whether the key is in the ignition or in my pocket. and I said, really? But now I'm intrigued, and so I got in the car, and sure enough, it was, as I remember, something like an alarm clock, not now, it would be like a watch, like a Apple Watch or something. But it was some, and it wasn't it was long before electronics as we wearable today, those types. But it was some type of an alarm clock that had fallen between the cracked in the console and was down under the seat, but you couldn't see it because it was on the side of the track.
Oh gosh! And
what have you? And we listened to it, and I said, "Oh, I can find this." And I went to get my mechanic's ears, and that's the stethoscope. And I reached under the seat, and carefully, and I found it, and lo and behold, it was an alarm clock. And I We retrieved it. We gave it to her. And she seemed embarrassed, but I think she was so relieved to get rid of the noise. And I've shared that story, but it's been a long time. So I thank you for sharing your story. That's my story. And if you name it, we've seen it in our shop through the years. That just unbelievable at what some vehicles and some owners. But yeah, it's a great story.
I know. I've done auto repair for over 30 years, and one of the all-time favorites of mine is when I opened up the air filter box and found a hornet's nest in it.
Oh.
And the minute I popped the two little clips and took the air filter canister open, there is a hornet's nest in there. And I'm thinking, my God, this car's been driving with it all that time, and the only thing that stopped the hornets from getting sucked into the engine was that little screen at the end of the hose. And I said, when's the last time you changed your air filter on this car? And the guy just looks at me and goes, I didn't know it had one.
Well,
happy Halloween to you, sir. And I really enjoy the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your comments and your story, too. And folks, if you have a story, the show is absolutely, it's all yours. It's all yours. For the next half hour, if you have a story or I see that we have James from California, or just a general question, feel free. This is Halloween, so it's open forum. 888, let me give you the number, 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. I mentioned the engine thermostat, and I'll tell you about that later because I've got this information that I want to share with you that's really interesting to me. And in those who are technically inclined or are car guys or gals, you'll appreciate an electronically assisted thermostat for your engine. But first, let's go to James in California. James, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. How you doing this Halloween day?
Fine. I just happened to, turn the program on.
Right.
I heard the little humor, about Skeleton Crew and
little darn little is what you heard.
Yeah. Well, my dad came from Holland back in 1914, and he told me, he says, your name is, translates, he says, from Holland Dutch to English. It says, Vandy Kerkhoff is my last name.
Okay.
He says, Van translates out to D-E, the, K-E-R-K, church, and Hoff, H-O-F-F, yard.
Of the church
yard. So he says, your ancestors, he says, could have been had an occupation of one of two things. He says they could have taken care of the yard around the church. And he says back in those days, a couple hundred years ago, he says the cemetery was all, around the churchyard. So he says you have a choice. He says either being a caretaker of the lawn or a grave digger. He said, which do you prefer? So it does have a kind of a Halloween ring to it.
Well, it really does. To that end, on my father's side was total Greek, Likis, and of course Likis. When my grandfather came to Ellis Island, the name was Eleftherios, which I can't even spell. And so they changed it from Eleftherios to Dikis, and he said, I don't like that, so they changed it from Dikis to Likis. And then my father married a Scotch-Irish, and my grandfather on my mother's side was a Scotch-Irish, and he could be a crusty old man, or he could be just the friendliest guy in the world. His name was Weaver. And they called him Doc Weaver, and he was not a doctor, but and he had eight children. But that's a long story. But the bottom line is, it's really interesting and funny that we should get into this kind of conversation because my wife just sent off for a DNA kit that you can buy for $100,
and she hasn't filled it out yet. But you actually put saliva in this tube, and you send it off, and they do a DNA and tells you your roots. And I think it's very interesting, and I don't even know the name of the company, but I can see the kit on our kitchen cabinet as I speak. But it's very interesting, and there's always some history. And recently, Tom Bergeron, as you know, with Dancing with the Stars, and does a great job, did a series, and I've only seen one of the series, where he goes back to look at his roots, and was amazing at where we started and where we came from. James, thank you so much from California for sharing that. Folks, don't touch your dial. We're going to come back with Dave and Gene for more information on Halloween Day. Today's new product spotlight is on Denso's Iridium TT spark plugs. Your vehicle's spark plugs deliver the electric current necessary to ignite the fuel that runs your engine. But not all spark plugs are the same. Denso is proud to introduce the Iridium TT spark plug. The Iridium TT's two tips, the twin tip, allow the spark plug to create the largest spark concentration and explosion for more power, superior fuel economy, and fewer emissions. And fewer emissions help protect our environment, while fewer visits to the pump save you money. Denso's Iridium TT spark plug is designed to last beyond 100,000 miles. The patented formula features the highest iridium concentration of any spark plug and outperforms in the most severe engine temperatures, resisting oxidation and voltage wear. Denso has the tradition of innovation. Using their OE expertise, Denso products are manufactured to give you the right part and the right fit the first time, every time. Learn more about Denso's Iridium TT spark plugs at densott.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
You can call them used. You can call them previously driven. You can call them anything you want. The point is, somebody, maybe even a dozen somebodies, owned the car before you did. And before you put down your hard-earned dollars for the car, you deserve to know exactly where it's been. Get a vehicle history report from Carfax.com. They'll give you the real history of any used car. Visit CARFAX.com or ask your dealer for a Carfax report. Don't buy a used car without Carfax.
I, Dennis Walker, pledge allegiance to the roof. I know it'll be clean. I know it will be comfortable. And I know that if the phone rings when I'm in the shower, I can just let it ring. For I have voicemail. Red Roof Inn, one room, under budget, with free cable and local calls for all.
98% of Red Roof guests are so satisfied with their visit, they plan to come back. Now that's not just loyalty, that's allegiance. For reservations, call 800-RED-ROOF.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. A great program today and lots of fun, being the Halloween that it is. I will eventually, before the end of the program, share with you the latest on the electronically assisted engine thermostat, but I will open the phones back up here. I've got a couple of calls in the queue, so we're going to go back to those calls, and then Allison will take your call again, 888-CAR-CLINIC. That's 888-227-2546. Let's go to Gene. Gene, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hello, I'm calling from Daytona Beach.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Well, I heard a story that in Daytona Beach there are real fast cars that run around and around in a circle. Well, hey, it's my show. I can be a corny too, you know.
I look at it this way. I hear that all the time when I tell people I'm a big NASCAR fan. What's the fun of going around in circles? I said, I don't know about you, but at 200 miles an hour, being inches from somebody side by side, 3 wide, yeah, that's a lot of golf.
Think of the rush. I've actually been, Terry Sabiston and I from WNDB, 1150 AM there.
Thanks.
Terry and I rode around, not in a NASCAR. I thought it was going to be in a NASCAR race car, and I was apprehensive. I never told anybody that, especially Mike Multane, our good friend there. I never shared with him that I had in the back of my mind, so I'm a control freak. So here I was. I had this ride around the track at X speeds, and I thought the worst. I thought I was going to be strapped because I know there's no seat on the right-hand side. So I thought I was going to be strapped somehow or other in this temporary bucket seat in this NASCAR and going 200 miles an hour. And I said, I don't know if I'm going to like this or not. And as it turned out, we were in a stock car, and there were 4 of us in the car, but I want you to know that from the time we hit the apron and we came out of number 1 and into number 1 turn there and came out of number 2, we were running 110 miles an hour before we ever got to the back straightaway, and I didn't even realize it. So I can only imagine what it's like with the noise and the helmet and the vibration and all the beautiful power underneath you running 200 plus miles per hour 8 inches from the back of another car, and sometimes not 8 inches. So that's really spooky. Now that brings spook to a whole new level with regard to fast. So do you have a story for us?
Yes, I do. I had a 1978 Ford Thunderbird, and it was manufactured at the end of 78 that I still had 79 parts in it. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it didn't like to always keep running. It would die on me in the middle of traffic, in my driveway, anywhere.
Right.
And I got very frustrated. I took it to my mechanic, because when I have a car, I have a mechanic so he knows what he's done and what he hasn't done.
Good.
And I had it on the dyno, everything. Well, one day, my girlfriend and I got totally frustrated. I got out of the car, went to the front of it, called it a couple of names, and whistled at it. It started. And after that, if I whistled at it, it started. That's weird.
It is weird.
Never found out what did it.
Well, Gene, to that end, let me share this with you. Not to do with your automobile, but and when cars had carburetors and they wouldn't start, we would ask our customers, and we still do this, even with today's sophisticated cars, we'd ask our customers to leave the car overnight, because once they fired it in the morning, then it was okay the rest of the day, which is typical of a carbureted engine for a lot of reasons. So they would leave the car, and we would crank it. Now, knowing the technician was more familiar with the operations of an automatic choke or the lack of operation of the automatic choke, so we wouldn't have the particular problem. So so we couldn't duplicate it. We said, well, you got to keep your car one more day. But we didn't work on the car because we couldn't duplicate the problem. So sometimes one leave it overnight turned into 2 or 3 leave it overnights. Now, having said that, I actually have practiced this. I've shown people this. They said, my car won't start. I said, okay, get out of the car, pull the hood. And I know what it was. They said they would open the hood and flip that little flapper thing, which is the choke blade, and then the car would crank. And I said, okay, fine. The next time that happens, I want you to get out of the car, open the hood, say a Hail Mary, don't touch anything, slam the hood, shut the hood, and get back in the car, and it'll crank. And I've had this happen on more than one occasion. Somebody called me and said, how did you know my car would do that? What does that do? What does that do? Well, all you're doing when you're trying to crank the car and not enough fuel and the choke's not working correctly, and then you walk away, some of the fuel that you pump the accelerator evaporates, and then those gases migrate their way into the cylinders. So if you would have just gotten out of the car and walked around the car a couple of times and gotten back in it, it would have started anyway, you know. And so there are reasons, there are mechanical, just like the gentleman that called first and said that, you know, the ghost of the lady that drove the car.
Oh, yeah, that was interesting. That's what reminded me of my car.
It was interesting, but make no mistake about it, there was a bad ground. There is a mechanical reason that vehicle does that, but it doesn't matter because it's Halloween day. Gene, thank you so much for tuning in and also for sharing your weird car story about your 78 bird.
And people, I tell other people I think I'm crazy.
Yeah, no, you're not crazy. No, you're not crazy. Well, that's okay. It's okay if you are. Let's just don't tell anybody you're crazy. Okay. Okay, my dear. Thank you. We'll take a call from Oregon. Let's go from Daytona Beach to Oregon and talk with Dave. Dave, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Oh, thank you, Bobby. I have a new 2015 Chevrolet Silverado pickup with a 5.3 V8.
Nice vehicle.
And I asked the dealer when to change the oil the first time, and they said when the computer tells you it's time, and that's going to be 5,000 miles.
Well, it's going to be more than 5,000 miles. It's going to,
but I was wondering, shouldn't I change it? I have 1,000 miles on it now. The dipstick is full, hasn't used any oil. When would you change it if it was your car?
3,500.
3,500?
Yes, 3,500, and here's why. The original factory fill, as we know it, and what you're referring to, the factory fill of oil, would get contaminated early on because you've got a new engine and all the parts have to mate in, and so that first batch of oil will contain more metal and more particles than the second batch and in any ensuing batch. If the engine stays healthy, of course. Now, having said that, because the manufacturing processes and the tolerances and the metallurgy is superior to anything prior, then that first batch of oil doesn't see the contaminated parts because those parts fit so much better than they ever have before. And I'll give an example. It's 20 years ago, when Ford came out with their Lincoln, one of their biggest selling points from a technical standpoint was that when the newly designed engine that replaced the old 302 engine, so when the modular engine replaced the 302 engine, at the end of 100,000 miles, that new Lincoln would have the same amount of clearance from wear that its predecessor had brand new, which means that the 302 had too much clearance in the rings, too much clearance in the pistons, too much clearance in all the internals. But the reason that the manufacturers left the clearance is because when you have excessive clearance, you may have some noises, but you never have to worry about really controlling the clearances, because if the cylinder bore, let's say, was on the minus side, and let's say it's 4 inches, plus or minus a half a thousandths, and let's say the piston is 3 inches, 98 thousandths, so it's 2 thousandths clearance, and it's plus or minus a thousandths. So you could literally have a piston in one hole that was 3 inch 999 thousandths and still be within tolerance, and you could have one of the holes that would be 4 inches less a half thousandths, so you'd end up with a half thousandths clearance, and that wouldn't be enough. So that's why, as through evolution, when manufacturing processes got better and manufacturers started using lasers to check cam lifts years ago, because they could check the grinding of the camshaft during the process, and now they use lasers to check the body door jamb fit when they're creating. So the whole process has gotten so good that you can dare to make it tight to start with, without fear of having one set of negative tolerances interfere with a set of positive tolerances, like I just talked about. And so to that end, you don't have to worry about going 3,500 miles, but I would put 3,500 miles. You already know
that you're supposed to be checking the oil to see if it leaks or if it uses oil, because the worst thing you could do is change the oil and have an engine. And then the dealer said, well, if you change the oil, well, you're supposed to go 5,000 miles and you changed it 1,000, maybe that caused it. So you're doing the right thing, but 3,500 is your number.
Okay, well, one more question. Could I go to full synthetic oil at 3,500?
Well, that car has synthetic oil already in it. It's Dexos. But
yeah,
the answer
I thought
is yes.
that was a parasynthetic, the Dexos.
Well, Dexos is a spec that GM created that all oil companies, if they want to play in GM's field, if they want to sell their product to a GM owner, they have to meet that spec. And there's hardly, I don't know of any brand names on the market that aren't Dexos approved. And if you Google Dexos approved synthetic oils, you'll come up with a list. And if you need that, I can supply that to you. So you don't have to worry really about that. But the answer is positively you can go to a synthetic oil. But you should also know, Dave, that the term full synthetic oil is not applicable. Full synthetic to me and to most people would mean that in the lab, a technician took a batch of X and turned it into a quart of oil. The cost to do that would be exorbitant. Even on a government contract for NASA, it would still be exorbitant. So what synthetic oil is 75 to 85% of the oil, a quart of oil, is synthetic base, which means that it's conventional oil that has been refined to a point that all molecules are the same size, and that gives you the base of oil. Then the remaining 15% up to 25% of that quart of oil is the synthetic product that oil companies would buy from the DuPonts of the world. I mean, even the oil companies don't make their own products. They purchase from chemical companies the phosphorus and zinc and other detergents and dispersants and additive packages that are used to make their oil. Now, it is the formulation of all of these components that makes for differences in brands of oil. But I've seen many and know of many conventional oils that can work in engines and protect an engine just as well as synthetic. The challenge is in cold weather or extreme hot weather, you need the protection of synthetic. So I use synthetic and I've always recommended it. Anyway, I appreciate your call. What color is your truck, by the way?
Well, it's called brownstone metallic. It's not my favorite color, but it's one that had all the equipment I wanted on it.
Well, there's the main, therein lies, if you're going to buy a new vehicle, and I've often said this, and I've always ordered my new vehicles because I want specific equipment. It's hard to find one because dealers will order the oddest colors, and they won't fill them full of accessories because they don't want to run the price up. But I think they should have one that's totally decked out and for people like you and me to go in and buy it. Hey, thanks for your call.
Yeah. Thank you.
Take care. We'll go to Washington. John, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, Bobby.
Hi, sir.
I'm watching on YouTube. There's a little bit of delay, but that's why we start the tachometer, the one that's built on the hood of the car.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that way I don't have to take my eyes off the road.
Well, that was a great idea. I never really I thought that was kind of strange to put a tachometer, but the only reason I thought that was because I felt like it was putting electronics out in the rain. So now that's just about.
I know, but that's the first time we ever did that, I believe.
Yeah, it was. I think it was. It was.
Right, and it's aerodynamic.
Yeah,
so, I think my car is out in the pumpkin yard somewhere along with my kitties.
Well,
they disappeared too recently.
Well, what was you have a question of me? Did you have a question of me?
Just to say I love you and happy Halloweeny Day.
Oh man, thank you so much. John, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And folks, I want to say the same thing to you. I just love it that you tune in on Saturdays. The electronically assisted thermostat story will have to wait till next Saturday because I'm not going to try to cram all the information. I will just tell you this.
An engine needs to come up to operating temperature as fast as it can and stay there in essence at a certain temperature depending on the loads as long as it can and be controlled on a flatline basis. And the coil, the wax motor in a thermostat will do this, but it's all according to the water, the coolant that's surrounding it, unless you have an electronically assisted thermostat. Next week, tune in the first hour, 10 to noon Eastern Time, and I'll share with you how this is made. It's really way cool, and it will make your engine last longer. I'm Bobby Likis. Happy Halloween. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
In the service bay this week is a 2010 Nissan Frontier. According to its owner, fuel economy is down and the vehicle is hesitating upon acceleration. Typically, this model vehicle can suffer from engine deposits for a variety of reasons. With no diagnostic codes or check engine light to work with, engine fuel trim is telling the tale. Our conclusion? Carbon buildup on the throttle body, intake valves, and piston tops. The answer? New Fuel Pro Complete from Motor Medic. Not your everyday fuel system cleaning kit. Fuel Pro Complete cleans both fuel and intake sides of the system. Most fuel system cleaners only clean through the gas tank. Fuel Pro Complete also cleans through the vacuum line. For newer cars, it cleans the top of GDI engines. For older cars, Fuel Pro Complete tackles traditional fuel system cleaning and intake cleaning. Visit fuelprocomplete.com for a demo video and port locator with a list of vehicle makes and models. That's fuelprocomplete.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, loaded, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, it starts my morning. Happy morning, your name is Fortress Mountain Grow. Now you're here, your aroma helps me wake, and the day is mine to take.